So in this segment, we're going to be talking about UK ministers push ahead with plans to tear up the post-Brexit trade deal. So what they're referring to is the Northern Ireland Protocol. So the Northern Ireland Protocol bill is still going through Parliament. It should be going to the Lords fairly soon. I think it's got committee and then Lords. I did a video on that sort of stuff a while ago, like parliamentary process. But ministers will push ahead with legislation to rip up Boris Johnson's post-Brexit trading arrangements for Northern Ireland on Wednesday, with no sign that any of the Tory leadership contenders plans to stop it. So even the so-called moderate, which was Tom Tug on his hat, he's dropped out of the race now, but even he was pushing it. The bill has poisoned relations with the EU, which obviously, for obvious reasons, it puts a massive hole in the single market, raising fears of a trade war, which is something that people in the EU and sort of commentators in the UK have talked about as well, the potential for a trade war that the parts of the TCA could be suspended within about a week, and we have a trade war in a few days. And the prospect of British scientists excluded from the €95 billion research programme Horizon, which has already happened, like it's happening, people's grants are being cut, and other scientists are moving to the EU. The row over the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol, which has brought local politics in the region to a standstill. I'm going to do a separate video on the DUP hinting that they will go back to Stormont, given that the bill has passed second reading, and so they're saying effectively that, in a sense, means it's passed. I mean, it's a bit of a bold strategy. One prior near the staunchly loyalist Rathcoole estate in County Antrim was decked with the signs "Protocol must go" and "Compromise equals sellout" as a band played "Land of Hope and Glory." I don't know what the Land of Hope and Glory is. It's definitely not the UK, but "Compromise equals sellout." The only reason we got the Good Friday Agreement was because of compromise. So these people's statements are just ridiculous. These like hardcore unionists that don't want to move to the Union, like Britain, England, Wales, and Scotland. The bill is expected to face opposition in the House of Lords, but again, as I've pointed out to people in the comments before, the House of Lords cannot block the bill. They can try and slow it down, but they can't stop it. The House of Commons is supreme over the House of Lords. So going through the Lords, however, none of the Tory leadership contenders, including former Chancellor Sunak, Mordaunt or Liz Truss, has committed to scrapping it. Any suggestion that the next Prime Minister would water down Brexit or give in to Brussels is seen by senior Tories as a quick way to lose support. And let's not forget the ERG, from what I've read, have around 80 MPs. That's a large voting bloc right there. The so-called, the Northern Research Group, or whatever the hell their nickname is, they're going to do whatever they're told, really. Because they're a bunch of noobs and they have no idea what they're doing. So more here, as a person in Northern Ireland saying, I'd like to see Liz Truss get in. She's tough on the protocol. I mean, she's the one that pushed the Northern Ireland Protocol bill and what I call the leadership of the EU, the dictatorship of the EU. Okay then, big boy, said Richard Bell, 79 years old, watching a marching band in North Belfast. So it's obvious what side he's on. He's at the marching band. He says the protocol is a mess. They're treating us as if we aren't British. Right, bro, like the worst thing you can't do is buy Cumberland sausages. It's not that bad. You have sausages in Northern Ireland. Like the obsession like that certain people in Northern Ireland have, that certain unionists have in Northern Ireland, it's kind of bizarre because you can move to the Union, like the other Union countries, if you want to. Like, we're not that far away, lad. Sunak resisted supporting the Northern Ireland Protocol bill while in cabinet. He resisted parts of it because he didn't want a trade war. But for whatever reason, kind of Brexit hasn't cropped up in the leadership debates, which I find really bizarre. But, Sunak has so far remained quiet on the issue during the leadership campaign because no one's really brought it up to them. But he was soft on it, as was some other Brexiteers, because at the end of the day, he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. If we go into an all-out trade war, it's going to make his job way more difficult. But now he's going to have another stooge as the Exchequer, if he wins, of course. One ally said Sunak would let the bill go through, but there would be a different tone. Sunak's spokeswoman declined to comment. And the thing that annoys me is they think that just because there's a new person in charge, things will instantly change when it comes to talks. It's not how it's going to work. Tom Tug on his hat is, been kicked out. Essentially, he's lost. He thought the bill he's regarded as the most pro-EU candidate. He would reset relations with Brussels and that he would keep the protocol as negotiating leverage. I mean, that statement there is just ridiculous. He wanted a clean slate, but also wanted to keep the bill's negotiating leverage. That's not how you build a clean slate. What you would do is you would stop the bill going through Parliament, just like the EU stopped legal action going through as well, if you want to show some goodwill. Johnson betrayed us, told us lies, said one man by a bonfire in Larne, more than 200 foot high. Everyone can remember Johnson's promise of unfettered access for goods into Northern Ireland. He added, the DUP has paralysed has paralysed local politics as well. It's not the gentleman saying it. That's just a random guy in Northern Ireland. But the DUP have paralysed politics in Northern Ireland. Let's not forget that. Stormont's not moving, and essentially people's money is not going in towards towards helping them pay the bills because they can't, because they have no functioning assembly. James McCluskey, 33, who works in banking, feared that if we give an inch, then an inch, then an inch, eventually I'll be showing my passport to go to Scotland. I mean, that's ridiculous. The only time that would happen is if Ireland reunified. That's the only time it would happen. And if anything, the Northern Ireland Protocol is a reason for Unionists to go against reunification, because effectively, right now, Northern Ireland is the only place where you can export into the EU and also into Great Britain without facing any checks, any customs fees. That's it. Ireland doesn't even get that luxury. He supported the bill's proposal for a green lane for goods coming from Great Britain and staying in Northern Ireland. Here's a question for you, James McCluskey. How do you, guarantee that those goods stay in Northern Ireland? How do you know they're staying in Northern Ireland? Because apart from some of the supermarkets that don't operate in the Republic of Ireland, you don't have many answers, pal. He says, I don't think the Conservatives have anyone to put in that I would trust, said Victor, age 63, a HGV driver. I don't think the Conservatives have anyone to put in that I would trust. He's not wrong there. Who would trust any of the Tory lot right now? They're a bunch of charlatans, let's be honest here. Biggest bunch of clowns you'll find outside of any circus. But it's very clear that, things won't change. Anyone who's on the under the illusion that with Boris Johnson gone, relations with the EU can improve, you're mad. It's not going to happen. You have a group of zealots that are vying for the for the leadership of the Tory party. That's what you have here. That Kemi lady, she's probably going to get voted out. So effectively, she's going to be gone. But you still have Penny Mordaunt, Brexiteer, Liz Truss, new zealot Brexiteer, I guess you could argue, Rishi Sunak, zealot Brexiteer, and I think there was no one else. They'll be vying for the top spots for the last two in the Tory leadership contest. It's going to be grim, and they've even canned one of the they've even canned one of the debates because it got that toxic, and I'll be covering that at some point. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.